Thanksgiving, a time when families gather around bountiful tables laden with mouth-watering dishes, all celebrating togetherness and gratitude. The mere mention of Thanksgiving conjures images of golden brown turkeys, creamy mashed potatoes, and luscious pumpkin pies. However, have you ever pondered what the original Thanksgiving feast looked like in 1621? Was it anything like the modern spread we've come to cherish? Let's set the scene. The year was 1621, and the English Pilgrims had settled into the Plymouth colony. After a grueling first winter, they had much to be thankful for, particularly the assistance of the Wampanoag people. The celebration was not just a single meal, but a 3-day event marking the Pilgrims' first successful harvest. Yet, as we delve into the menu of this historical event, we find it quite divergent from today's Thanksgiving staples. To begin with, turkey may have been present, yet it was not the centerpiece of the feast. Historical accounts mention wildfowl, which likely included ducks and geese more so than turkeys themselves. These birds were plentiful in the area, and the Wampanoag people were adept hunters, bringing much of the meat to the table. In place of our beloved mashed potatoes, the Pilgrims and Wampanoag might have consumed sunchokes, also known as Jerusalem artichokes, native tubers that grew abundantly in the region. Sweet potatoes, along with white potatoes, were not yet common in North America. Interestingly, seafood played a significant role at this meal. Lobsters, clams, and fish were staples for both the Pilgrims and the Native Americans. Considering the colony's location near the Atlantic, this should come as no surprise. Historians note that mussels gathered from local waters, cooked alongside herbs, were likely part of the celebration. Corn indeed made its appearance, yet not in the form of cornbread or corn on the cob. Instead, it was most likely served as a porridge or stew, a hearty dish taught to the Pilgrims by the Wampanoag. This cornmeal mixture, sometimes referred to as nasam, was often sweetened with native fruits and nuts. And speaking of fruits and nuts, cranberries may have been present, though not as the sweetened sauce we're accustomed to today. Likely, they were used for tart flavorings, complementing the rich and savory elements of the meal. The absence of sugar, a luxury at that time, meant desserts like pumpkin pie were not on the table. Instead, the pumpkin might have been hollowed and filled with milk, honey, and spices, then roasted. Quite an inventive take on what we now consider a classic flavor. So, how did we transition to today's more familiar Thanksgiving menu? As historians suggest, it was the gradual evolution of culinary practices, coupled with the influence of various cultural traditions, that led to our cherished dishes. The advent of regional harvests, the introduction of new flavors, and the celebrations spread across different parts of America all contributed to what we now recognize as traditional Thanksgiving fare. In conclusion, while our modern Thanksgiving tables might look vastly different from those of the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag, the spirit of the occasion remains unchanged, celebrating the harvest and giving thanks, a tradition that will certainly endure for generations to come.